German regulators are calling the My Friend Cayla doll an espionage device, and as such have banned its sale in the country. On the outside, the My Friend Cayla doll looks like any ordinary children's doll, but one of its features is actually the ability to ping a server via Wi-Fi for answers to questions that children ask it using the onboard microphone. The doll reads the results of queries back through the speaker that's also embedded in the doll. Nuance, which is the company that makes the voice recognition software used by the doll, said that the voice data is not shared in any way. However, the terms of service seem to like put that to bed.
Yeah, you have to watch the video. You saw the video?
Yeah, the video's good.
The video is excellent. This video that they're showing right now, where at this point he's actually showing how physically far away you can be from the doll, essentially outside of the building, and you could be eavesdropping through your own cell phone. Listen to this,
so
and
crazy.
More importantly, the end user license agreement, which nobody ever reads.
Yeah, and it's really long.
Which is endless. He does a sort of visual demonstration of that. Just as this is the part, we can use your child's voice in any of our marketing or advertising.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty nasty.
Sounds pretty wrong. I would imagine that crosses some legal lines.
That came up as a privacy concern that people had. I was speaking to at RSA.
Oh, okay.
That's the demonstration.
Related to this doll specifically?
No, just in general, talking about just sort of privacy concerns of lay off my kids.
Right.
There's a lot of lay off my kids.
That's definitely a line that you don't cross as far as that's concerned. There's also the article, the NPR article anyways, that I read, says that you can ask it, can I tell you a secret? And it gives you the answer, something along the lines of, go ahead and tell me. It's just between us.
Just between you and us and this connected internet server that goes back, and it could technically be worldwide if we wanted to.
I mean, this really kind of points to the bigger issue that surrounds security in the IoT space right now, and just this lack of attention on devices like this around protecting it from intruders, from hackers, from anyone that can kind of recommand that hardware in a different way, thinking that, oh, well, that's just not going to happen. I mean, in this day and age, if it has a Wi-Fi antenna on it and hackers be hackers, they're going to figure out a way in it. How much of a threat is that? Why not begin going out of the gate with security in mind? And that's what IoT is learning.
Yes, well, as we all know, the number of IoT devices that don't even have the most basic security in it is bizarre. But you know what this story reminded me of? The second I saw this was the old, and this goes back, I think this 16 years ago, the Furby.
I remember that.
Yes. Now, that wasn't an internet connected, but it recorded something in a room. So you could stick a Furby on a shelf, and it would recognize it. And it would alert and would record. And there was some story about like government agencies were banning Furbies in the agency.
They were afraid it could be some sort of,
exactly.
Meanwhile, was there any way for the Furby to like transfer any data?
It couldn't transfer,
off
but the idea is this innocuous little doll that's sitting on a shelf that could record things that were in a room.
That's still weird, creepy. Also, Hello Barbie, right? That was last year. There was a big kerfuffle. I don't know if it qualifies as a kerfuffle. But the other thing you should realize is that
this came out of Germany, the ban on this doll. Europe has far stricter privacy regulations than we do out here, specifically in Germany. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people would actually kind of like the privacy regulations that are in Europe, but they are far stronger than what we have. In fact, like they have them. I would go so far as to say they have them out there, where not so much out here.
Yeah, I mean, you can't necessarily buy this doll in Toys R Us or Walmart online, but you can through Amazon. It's not prohibited from being on Amazon for sale in the U.S. So I suppose if you want your doll keeping tabs on you, there you go. From connected dolls to connected cars, and a big thanks to Force Talks in the TNT subreddit for this story. Kaspersky security researchers actually conducted studies of 9 Android apps for connected cars. They found that it's possible to commandeer the cars connected to those apps by either rooting the phone or installing malicious code. In doing so, they demonstrated how hackers could do things like locate a vehicle, unlock the doors, and even in some cases, start the ignition. Yeah. I was going to say ignite the car, but that's something completely different. That's like worse. A Samsung problem. Yeah. So how big of a threat do you think this is as we move
It is
even further into this world of connected cars?
So this is actually rather significant. And one guy who's kind of been on the forefront of this whole sort of securing automotive devices, a man by the name of Josh Corman, who is one of the founders of a group called I Am the Cavalry, which are where bits of my, I think, what's their line? Is bits and bytes hit atoms or something to that. So when the idea is when the digital world hits the physical world,
Right.
kind of an idea. And the fact that they saw all these incredibly, all these physical devices that had internet connections to them, and not just cars, but things like pacemakers, things like that, and a lot of health devices as well had some kind of internet connection to them. The car industry was a little slow to come on, but this was something discovered before 2015, actually. Before the Black Hat of 2015, there was in fact, it's at the bottom of this article, they showed that video. There was a demonstration that they could actually control a car remotely on the highway.
Right.
And this, by the way, this was the number one story. This is it right here. This was the number one story of Black Hat of 2015. I mean, everyone was going crazy about this. But this is new in that it has to do with apps that can control a car, which the fact that they looked at like 7 different apps and they had all these problems with it. Just so the number one advice Josh offered, which I thought was good, is just start asking questions. When you go to buy a car and they tell you, and it's internet connected and you control it by your app, and just start asking security questions like, what kind of protection is on this? Like, one of the things they said is that they didn't even encrypt the username and password in the app.
That's such a...
And
this is that kind of goes back to our point on the previous story that we talked about just like thinking about security when you're creating these products and not overlooking something as basic as that.
But the problem in the industry, and this is very much in the startup industry, is the speed to get product out there is so intense that security is often an afterthought. Luckily, you know, if you're familiar with what is known as the DevOps movement, the idea of getting the operations group and the development group together, they're the more secure DevOps movement that's happened. It goes, okay, yes, get the developers involved, get the operations, and get security involved, and actually iterate in fast turn with all sort of 3 departments working together. So even if you are creating a startup and you do want to go fast to market, you can actually go fast to the market securely.
Yeah, right. Yes, and that's pretty darn important, if I do say so myself. You know, Tesla cars can actually allow for a car to be driven by the app, so you can.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Illustrating just one possibility of. Now, mind you, there's the other side of this, which is that in all of these cases, it required the phone to be rooted. In some cases, it required malware to be downloaded on the phone or installed, and those things for that to just happen randomly, you know.
Well, it doesn't happen randomly, but
it doesn't happen randomly, but it does happen out of someone not understanding that you don't download an app from the wrong store or whatever the case may be.
How many times have you just been messing with your phone and your hand slips and hits something and it just, I didn't want to do that. Like, how often that happens all the time?
I suppose, but when does that particular accident sync up with carrying a payload such as this?
It all depends on what's trying to get into your phone. I mean, we'll talk more about this when we hit the security discussion, but
we got a lot of these topics today.
Let's just say, I go back to the days of you just being smart are over. Anyone can be hit.
Dang it. I've always just relied on my smartness.
Your wit ain't going to cut it anymore, Jason.